Let's do this. Let's go. Come. Right, so most welcome. I think this is going to be amazing. Take your chair, take your seats.
Thank you.
Right, welcome to the summit. This is it. Of course, every Wednesday, 9 p.m., we come alive, and of course, we scale the heights with the aim of just trying to bring conversations that matter to each one of us right here on this particular four walls. As always, my name is Eugene. Nangwe, come with me so that we can look at the world right here. And of course, I know by now you've already understood the assignment. You know that every time that we are live, we are also across our social media platforms. Like we speak right now, we are also on the YouTube channel as well. You can definitely jump onto the YouTube space right there, and you'll be able to find the video that will be just coming your way in any moment from now. But of course, on the X platform, we are also right there. All you need to do is just jump up at the RwandaTV or at RBA Rwanda. You'll be able to find us right there and be able to join us from across the world. Please share that link, and of course tell anyone that really needs to be part of this conversation to jump onto it. If you've not loaded your bundles, your data bundles, if you've not charged your tweeting or social media device, please do that right now, because it's going to be a hot one right here on the program. Look, I said I wanted the energy, and we brought the energy right here on this particular show. And of course, the aim is for us to be able to say, we need to have a conclusive and inclusive conversation that actually brings everyone on the table to have this particular conversation. We had this talk a couple of weeks ago, and it had to do with unemployment. And of course, I heard you. Most of you said, hey, Anangwe, you're just bringing people who have jobs. They do not know the pain of actually getting character development while knocking those doors to look for that particular job. We need to hear also from young people themselves, and we want to hear their perspective. What did we do? We actually just did that. So join us right now. Let me introduce the panelists who are here with us on this particular show. And of course, we have Doreen Keza.
Hi.
Of course, within the Students' Council, you are the Deputy Country Director, Federation of African Law Students. Let's first agree, is that a job or is just a role, a title?
Thank you. That's something, it's a global union of law students across Africa, so we're trying to have an association where we all meet so that we can probably create some opportunities for ourselves.
Right, so you don't earn a check, there's no check at the end of the month. No. So officially jobless. So you tick the box. Thank you for joining us on the program. Shakira Kamikazi, entrepreneurial leadership, leader student. Thank you so much for joining us. Are you cutting a check at the end of the month?
Unfortunately not.
Unfortunately not.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Of course, Joel Tuikunde, who's actually a content creator. I think you are getting paid. Mark Zuckerberg is giving something. And Elon Musk.
Small.
Thank you, all of you, for joining us on this program. Now, listen, we have had the fact that young people will actually are very instrumental, especially when it comes to the youthful population, and what they say young people in terms of the potential is concerned. And so it's very important that we also have you on this particular conversation to also share your thoughts on these particular issues. Doreen, I want to first understand, when we say Gen Zs, because we want to hear from a Gen Z perspective on this whole issue of tackling unemployment. Make us understand, first of all, this word Gen Z. Because some people it works for them, some people it works against them. Okay. Especially when we when you talk about the intergenerational gap. We have people who say, Gen Z is fire, we cannot handle. But then for others, I mean, you feel this is the booming generation that actually can be able to do anything out there. First of all, tell us about the whole definition, Gen Z. How is this supposed to be understood by those who are watching you right now?
Also, Gen Z actually is like Generation Zoomers. And it's a generation from 1997 to 2012-ish. And so we were born in that era of where the technology was kind of taking place and has skyrocketing like that. So they think with the effects of technology, we're kind of different from the past generations. And yeah, I think we are different. But our difference is to be embraced, not something to be like, oh, those guys.
Different from the other generation, Shakira, different from my generation. I think me, I'm that generation that, you know, almost a dinosaur generation.
Yeah.
Talk to me about your feelings about this.
So When I think Gen Z, in comparison to other generations, what I think about is controversial. Because everything about us is controversial in comparison to other generations. One thing about us, we're very outspoken. So us being a social media generation, it makes us live in a world of globalization, right? So that has created an outspoken spirit in us where we challenge things, we challenge ideas, and that doesn't sit well with older generations. So I feel like that's where the issue comes, and the Gen Zs have become the topic of the town.
Joel, in what ways has being a Gen Z worked for you and against you?
So adding on to what she said, we're the talk of town. So most of the times you find that when you hear the word Gen Z, you don't even want to be a part of it sometimes. Because you're like, especially the early Gen Zs, like the early 2000s or like the late 1990s, like you don't want to be part of it because you feel like, they're just people that just always have something to say, always just controversial about everything. So most of the times, it does not favor you. It does not favor you because you're like the millennials who are currently in the workspace that we're saying, making decisions as we speak. It's like, those ones are just different from us. But sometimes it does work for us because when you go on like social platforms, Gen Zs are the ones booming. Like when you go, like in my field, personally, content creators, Gen Zs are the ones with the trends. Gen Zs are the ones that understand. They're actually the ones bringing the trend, which makes a lot of sense.
And I must ask this because sometimes there's a challenge of understanding or having perspectives that, match your energy and your level of knowledge. And I've had this particular challenge, or even there's a time I was interviewing someone who said he is a young person and the people who make decisions at the company that he works are actually of the older generation. And he comes up with an idea that is very innovative, that is tech-based, and then this person who has to implement, or person who calls the shots, who has to sign and approve the idea, says, do you know how old I am? Why are you challenging my ideas? Why are you challenging my thought process? Let's first of all talk a bit about that. How easy or how difficult is it to blend or to gel? I won't ask the two of you because you're not working. Maybe for you.
Must be reminded.
You have to be reminded, but we'll come back to explain further.
At least you're getting small.
But Joy, when you do the content creation, I'm sure you bump onto people who you say, okay, I want to do this kind of content and I'm targeting, and they have, or sometimes are in a generation that is not within your generation. How easy or difficult has it always been to convince them to accept what ideas you have, the new ideas, and what you do actually?
Of course, content creation, millennials, most of the time, they don't get it. They don't get it. That is not even a job. And I won't even lie, I have a full-time job on the side as well. But content creation, some people won't get it. Right now in the marketing system, they get it. They understand that to get things out there, to get product knowns, you must get content creators because they are the future, the ones getting it. But apart from that, millennials don't get it. So we're very misunderstood when it comes to like, you're making content creation a job, especially in Rwanda, in the field, or even the reasons we say small is because I don't think they can pay you enough for a job, to be honest, content creation. Because what are you doing? You're just making content. Other people are like making what? Making new things. Other people are being innovative. What you're doing truly is something anyone can do. When you come to think of it, content is actually hard. You're putting yourself out there. You're challenging the norm even. There's so much that goes into it.
But even how do you tell your parents that when you grow up, I know of parents who ask that question, and then you say, I want to be a content creator. I want to be a celebrity couple. What do you mean? How easy was that to even tell your parents that this is what you want to do?
I think some things you don't tell people, you just do, you become. You become and they see you become. So I'm sure if I told my parents some years back I want to be a content creator, they would have been like, what is that? So I just became, and I remember when I opened my YouTube channel, my parents were like, we remember you told us you liked marketing, but we saw you on YouTube. What does that have to do with your marketing? I said, now I'm being the brand. I'm not saying the brands. You find some ways to explain it to them. But I think the easiest way is doing stuff. Sometimes you don't have to explain it. You just have to go for it, and they will understand along the way, which they are.
I like that. Now, Doreen, I want to hear your story of character development while seeking for that job. How has it been? How difficult has it been for you? Because I'm told most of the times, the people on that panel do not know. Our shoes can tell those stories if they could tell, in terms of how we've tarmacked, how we've knocked doors, how we've explained ourselves. The doors have been shut in our faces. I want to hear your story.
So I'm a law student at the University of Rwanda. So no lie there, getting an internship as a law student is very hard. So most of the law firms currently are owned by millennials or even older generations. So and most of them speak French. So our generation mostly speaks English. So when you go there and you're like, I am capable, I can do these things, I have learned this in school. I actually take online courses so that you can actually see some potential in me. I can improve this law firm to a higher level. For me to prove that, I need to go like an extra mile. But I believe if I was older, it would have been like, well, considering where your age and the things you've been through, I think you could be a great add to the law firm. But these law firms that are, they actually, maybe some of them lack marketing, others, I could actually help them, but to convince them is the idea. And also, for me to take that step, for me to be like, I really need an internship to further my career, that itself there is a certain intimidation created around that whole area. And doing it is actually very intimidating. You can find like in a class of 80 students, only a few have managed to apply for internship. Not because they're not capable, but because if I do this and I actually don't succeed, it will tarnish my name. And for me, taking a career, I study something that is like very career oriented, so you have to be very careful.
You have to be very careful of that. What's the saddest memory you have of seeking for that job? Feeling like, you know what, I think I can do this, but every time they just shut the door on me. What's that moment you'll never forget?
I'm starting my journey. I don't think I have that. Already have that heart-crushing moment. But I've seen my friends struggle.
Tell me about that.
I've seen my friends struggle. One of them has used LinkedIn, and she was emailing people like, "Give me a job, give me a job." And then once she got a job, they were like, "You're listed for the interview." And then she was going for the interview, and it was this. Sorry for what I'm going to say, but it was this old person, and he was asking her, "So what are you capable of?" And he himself is not very professional. It was a Zoom interview, and he himself is not being very professional, and he's requiring, and she's all professional, she's all like doing stuff, getting ready for the interview, and this guy is just like, so who are you? Tell me about yourself. Who are you? What have you been doing? And she has a whole CV, explained herself, did everything, just for the guy to cut her off mid the interview.
Wow. All right. So there was a feeling that I might be overqualified than you seated on the other side.
Not actually overqualified, but I have potential to do maybe even more than what you're doing right now.
Shakira, tell me your story.
My story, all right. So unlike Doreen, I'm not in a very specific career-oriented, I'm not pursuing a specific career-oriented degree. So I've had more experiences with, actually all my experience is with internships, different internships. So now my issue is this, right? To enter the job market, most job listings that I see and I want to apply, they require 1.5 to 2 years of experience, right?
Right.
So I get it, we can get that experience through internships, volunteering, all of that. But realistically speaking, I can't volunteer for an equivalent of 1.5 to 2 years. So the alternative would be internships. But then again, I am a student, and the only time I get to do internships is academic internships. And I'm still a conflicted young lady, still finding where I fit, and I believe that college is the time to do that. So this time, I take on a 4-month internship. So it's maybe I'm working in communication. Then another 4 months, I decide to go in fundraising, right? So those are 4 months of communication and 4 months of fundraising.
Something different,
They're distinct, right? So if I'm going to be applying, how am I going to have accumulated that time, right? So now my issue is, how am I going to land a job without that experience? So that's what I've been struggling with mostly. And the jobs that I can actually land that don't require experience, they're not those that are part of my career path, right? So they'll just be diverting. Maybe I got to be a receptionist at the library, that kind of thing. So it sort of diverts me from my whole career path. So that's the kind of conflict I'm facing right now. So that's been my struggle.
Interesting. Joel, I'm sure you're there saying, why don't you also just become content creators like I did?
No.
Or just create something for yourselves, you know. How did you get to that decision? I'm sure there must have been a point you got to a crossroad and you're like, you know what? I think I'm going to go the content creation. I'm going to create something for myself. I'm going to start my own YouTube channel, have my own TV and my own audience, even if there are 2 or 20 who will be watching what I'm doing. There must be a reason. Tell us your story.
As funny as it sounds, like I actually started this in my full-time position. Like I was on a job, but I also knew there was more for me. I was working an admin job, but I also knew I was meant for more. But I knew that I had no experience in comms, in marketing. I liked it. I loved being the face, being the brand. In that, I had some ideas, but I know that it was impossible for me to land the job. It required me for me to get experiences. I was currently in a full-time job. So for me to land a marketing job, it was so hard. I was always applying, getting rejections here and that. And I was like, but I actually enjoy making content. I loved editing. I was already doing things on my personal social medias. So I was like, let me actually try this out. Venturing into YouTube, starting a YouTube channel was a whole different scene. I love that I didn't limit myself, even in the job that I was doing. I knew that I was doing things, I was giving my best, I was learning, because in an admin job, you learn everything on the job. But I also loved that I was finding time for things that I love that could potentially also turn into jobs at the future, turn into something that gives me the check at the end of the month. So the time, I don't say there was a specific time, but I always knew there was something in me that wanted to do what I love, and I did it in my job. Until this day, I'm currently also in a job that is somehow community comms related, has to do both, but I still do my content and it works perfectly for me.
It works perfectly well. Doreen, what's the biggest misconception about the Gen Zs, especially for people within the job market who have the jobs, who have the opportunities to create those jobs? What's the biggest misconception that you want them today to actually correct in their amazing minds?
Thank you. I will definitely use this opportunity.
The
first one is they think we're overly sensitive. Overly sensitive about things that they think don't matter. Overly sensitive about gender, about identity, about work-life balance. And in their minds, they think, oh, you could handle this. We handled it, but it was a different time. Time has moved on. We're in 2024. Like, let the people do their work. Let them have a break. Let them, enjoy their lives, even though they are working for you. But give them the rights to be free, to create, to innovate, and also let them have a break. Let them go for holidays.
If I could jump in on that. Oh my God, the work-life balance hits different because I feel like the older generations, it's work, work, work. They want like work hard, not work smart. Like you can get your work done earlier, but you cannot leave. You can. Right? Like we have all these ways that have made working easier, better. But they don't even want to entertain the idea because they're like, no, we have a system. It's always been done this way, so it should be done this way, right? There's not even a valid reason behind it. It's just because that's what they're used to. Like they're so in their comfort zone, they don't want to embrace these new ideas because they feel like it's laziness. Like, why are they trying to make things so easy, right? They should struggle like we struggled.
Right. I want you to challenge me if you can, by the way. Let's talk a bit about that aspect of the struggle and the current generation, the older generation, as you call them, telling you that or wanting you to also go through the hustle that they also went through in their time. Personally, it's been almost 17 years to create this brand, which is still being created. I still feel I've not gotten there.
Okay.
And when I talk about my journey, it included volunteering. And most of the time, sometimes I used to even walk on foot to reduce the distance because the fare I had was not enough for the long distance from where I was moving from point A to go for the volunteering. So I would walk some distance so that the remaining distance, I can pay that 100 shillings fare that I had at that point. Or sometimes even eating lollipop because there was no enough for me to be able to get a proper lunch. And worked for free, even filled a role that someone used to be paid a salary and they had been fired. And I actually filled that role, but still as a volunteer and no even any money from what was being paid for this person who left the job. I didn't get that until Contact FM came here in Rwanda. They were looking for young people who wanted to actually, be part of the journey of bringing up the English broadcast here in Rwanda. And if you look at that journey in terms of looking at it from a passion perspective, just doing it because you want to build a name, doing it because you're passionate about it, sometimes when you tell your generation, they're like, Anangwe, those were your days. Man, why would I work for free? I also have bills to pay. And sometimes that's how that misunderstanding comes up. How do you explain this? How can this be, you know, for lack of a better word, how do we reconcile these valid points from both ends? There's a point that says it's a journey. Success is not instant. There is a journey towards it. But then there's one that says, no, those were your days. You have to look at things differently. Today, give me the job, pay me for it, give me a holiday, I want to go for a break. Don't call me at 9 because that's my past work hours. How do we reconcile this? Any one of you can jump in on this, and please feel free to challenge me as well.
How long was that?
I mean, it was, like I said, 17 years ago.
And how long did you spend
the
volunteering experience?
Oh, the volunteering experience, it took me almost, because I was almost in my final year in college. I think it was about a year.
You spent 1 year volunteering?
1 year, no
Full
payment.
time?
Yes.
Oh, no transport, nothing?
No transport. At that time, I was living at my sister's. And she was the one who was giving me my fare to school. And that's why I had to balance that fare with the fare going to the workplace where I was volunteering.
And that's why you break the line with Gen Zs.
So tell me, how do we reconcile this?
I think with Gen Zs, me, my personal opinion is volunteering is good. Gives you experience, that's what we all want. But at a certain amount of time, there should be a time frame. You're volunteering for 3 months, the most 6 months. On the 7th month, what are you doing? And why are you still there if they like you and they're not paying you? Why are you there? They're exploiting you.
So by default, by 6 months, you need to leave, even if you still feel you want to continue volunteering, even if there is a journey that you see an end to.
Depending on your context.
I think, personally, 6 months is a lot, depending on what you're volunteering for. 6 months is a really long time without payment, without transport. At least you can provide transport and lunch. That's okay. I pay for my transport, I eat on my own money, and I'm working for you. But by the way, we should also look at the context of volunteering in your days and in our days. We understand, as Shakira said, we are very outspoken. I am contributing something to the growth of your vision and your mission of this organization. At least, so what do I get in return? I understand you're giving me experience, but at least for the consideration of the work that I'm putting in. Even though you're teaching me, 6 months, I've learned a lot. You can teach me for 1 month too, and then the rest, I expect at least a little bit of help, not getting paid, but please help me.
Right, so it has to be paid. Paid internship, paid volunteering.
So I respect your struggle. But I do feel for you because Joel mentioned something, exploitation at its best. Because I understand how your generation went through that. But that is...
You make me feel so old. Okay, but it's fine.
All right, so this is the thing about us being outspoken, right? The fact that you went through it does not make it okay. The difference between us is that now we have the platform to speak out on things that are not actually okay, right? So it was being practiced during that time, and it was sliding by because no one was calling it out. So it felt like your norm. It felt so normal to you. But now that we have a platform, we're calling out things that are not okay, right? Like having a volunteer work for you a whole year. Come on, sympathize with yourself. A whole year, no transport, no food, nothing. And those corporations can't afford it. It's not because they cannot afford it that it's going to dent a big hole in their pockets. No, they can't afford it. So that's exploitation. Like Joel said, volunteering is essential. But if you can't even pay your volunteers, have them work for you 3 months, give them transportation, give them meals, but nothing, oh boy.
But the argument is, this generation wants it the easy way. You know, they are not ready to sacrifice. They are not ready to look for that period that they can use on their CV to say, this was my experience period, experience growing period.
Okay, I would leave you with a question. Are you happy with what happened? Do you feel like it led you to where you are here?
Oh,
are you
for
happy
me,
with
personally,
sacrificing that 1 year?
I think there was nothing I could have done at that point. But I feel, much as it was painful, or the journey was not easy, I think today I eat the fruits of that. There are things that, and I say this because, and with all due respect to everybody else, I say this because sometimes when you get something through a hard way, and hard way can be relative, you value it more than when it becomes easy to just get it. And when I say this, I've seen people, even when I offered opportunities for internship in different spaces that I've been, some of them would take it for granted, and sometimes they would take it so lightly that they would not put in the effort, put in the work. And I would remember the days when I used to knock doors to even just get a voice test at a radio station. And I would go through so many security points because this lady walking me to the booth has to put their biometric fingerprint to access those doors. And here I was, opening doors with any restriction and saying, you are welcome as trainees, as interns, to access anything, any part of this space as far as studio is concerned. And still some did not take it seriously in that sense. So I feel for me, comparing the journey and today, I feel I don't have any regrets, honestly.
Okay, that's good. But the hard way has changed for us. Your hard
Describe
way.
your hard way. How's the Gen Z's hard way?
Okay, the Gen Z's hard way one is to destroy the stereotypes that have been put on us. Like, these guys are lazy, they take things for granted. If you give them an opportunity, they're just gonna mess it up and not make something out of it. And from that, that's not who we are. We can actually innovate, and that's not something to take personally as your generation. That's not something to take personally. Maybe you give them this opportunity expecting them to be lawyers, but when they got there, they were like, nah, I think this is not for me. I must just switch to marketing. And that's okay. In our generation, we think that's okay. You are not born to be what they say you were born to. You can always change at any time in life. We are very open-minded and diverse like that, and sometimes it doesn't go well with their employers.
Right. What's the hard way for Gen Zs, in your opinion? Just as her point, what is yours? How do you see it?
Mine, this is something I think about a lot. My Roman Empire for TikTokers. But I feel like us being an exposed generation, I like to think a lot about how we're in a globalized era. That's a very big struggle for us. We're so exposed to different ideas, and these are struggles that millennials and other generations wouldn't understand. But you have so many mental issues going around because of all of that exposure, so much social pressure that is going around, and then to add it up to older generations not understanding what we're going through, so you can't talk to them. So you have to act like this is okay when you know it's not okay. You can't voice all of this out. And also being misunderstood in the workplace, like I just said, there are these things that are so relevant to you and your generation, but you can't voice them out to your employer or to your supervisor because to them they're so not relevant. So if you want to keep your job and be in good graces with your supervisor, you have to just keep it to yourself, right? So those are some struggles that are very unique, I would say, to my generation.
Right. Joel, how about you?
I think the hard way for Gen Z is our mental health. I think even if it goes beyond the money, yes, you're offering me a job, you have good money, how's the work culture like? We'll dig down the research to actually find out what more there is to the job, the mental, everything that goes into it. I think most of the people that were before us, the millennials, our parents, they fought the physical battle. They're in survival mode. I can't say we're good off now. We have the basic things, right? Most of the Gen Zs now. There's some still struggling, yes. But some of us have the basic things, but what we're fighting is mentally. We want peace. We want peace at any cost. And my battle might not be that I'm spending the 1 year not being paid. My battle is my boss is treating me harshly. My boss is giving me deadlines. There'll be many more battles in the job. I'm sure that in that 1 year, where you weren't being paid, you faced many other battles in the job that weren't money. Now imagine you had to go through all that. So us, at least, we'll face some of the battles, but we're at least, we'll even transport, the bare minimum, some things we just don't understand.
Right, but then how do you reconcile with this argument that keeps coming up, that this is a soft generation? It's a generation that wants it on a silver platter. Like you said, these are tough things that you have to deal with, the misconception, the stereotypes, but it's the reality. There are those who actually say, you know, Gen Zs will always flag the mental health flag and say, hey, you're messing up with my mental.
As an excuse.
You feel that's an excuse, right? Tell me a bit about that. You know, how do you then reconcile this thought process that, look, we had to go through this and it toughened us. The world is not fair after all. So we had to go through that. Why can't you go through that? These are some of the statements you'd hear coming up now and then.
I think it requires efforts on both sides.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to speak about my generation, maybe someone else will.
Yeah.
But something I can ask the employers, or in this case, the millennials, is to, you know, give us a chance, mentor us, give us the platform. If I come on your door and you think I'm capable, if you think I have potential, you're not gonna be the boss forever. Someone is gonna have to sit where you're seated right now. So the least you can do right now is mentor somebody, bring someone up, teach them what you do, and they will also teach you something, because we know technology a lot. We can do the marketing on different platforms. We can do that better than maybe most of the millennials. So if I think the mentorship has kind of failed when it comes to the generation, like the handover of responsibilities to us is kind of failing. So if maybe they give us a chance like that, we can also work together. Yeah. Right.
All right. Dorian mentioned something about meeting each other halfway.
Yes.
So one thing I don't believe is being completely inconsiderate towards the concerns of the Gen Z, right? Okay, let's say we are a soft generation, but there are a series of factors that come into play for a certain generation to turn out the way it is. If it was your kid that is just soft, then okay, find a way to deal with that if it bothers you, but it's a whole generation, right? So right now, I don't think complaining about it is going to offer any solution, right? Okay, we've turned out this way because of particular way. We want things not as complicated as your generation maybe had it, right? So how do we meet each other halfway, right? How do you become more understanding of me? And how am I more understanding of you? So another issue that tends to come up, especially in the workplace and in relationships with our parents, is that they want the conversation to be one-sided, right? So because you're my elder, and I do respect you highly for that, you want me to hear from you, but you don't want to hear my perspective. But I feel I can respectfully express my opinion, and we can have a two-sided conversation, dialogue. I have something to contribute to you because you have blind spots. So that's what I feel is how to what?
To reconcile
to reconcile
this. Right. I want to take you know, just hold your thoughts on that, and I want to invite you who's watching us right now, if you have thoughts, especially on how to move this conversation forward, how best, we are here now, probably at a crossroad. There's a misunderstanding of 2 generations or 3, and of course we still need to live, you know, on this earth together and coexist. In the workplace, we have to coexist. And so how do we do this? I want to hear your thoughts. How do we work out that particular challenge of the stereotypes that the Gen Z says, look, you have labeled us this, yet we are not that. Take advantage of what we can actually do to move your company forward, or probably understand us differently. How do we do this? I would love to hear your thoughts. Please tweet us or use the hashtag #TheSummitRW. I'll be happy to read your comments in just a short while. Also go onto our YouTube channel and be able to leave a comment right there. Joel, I want us to move the conversation forward. Solutions now, especially now on the aspect of job seeking, creation of you know, opportunities. What sort of advice do you have also for Gen Zs? We've asked of the other generations. Now, what do you see in your generation that you feel has to change?
So one thing I feel like has to change in Gen Zs is the back and forth with I've applied and I was declined. There's so much more to job seeking, and these are things that have worked for me personally. I've never gotten a job of applying and getting it. personally. I've always getting the clients. We're always getting the clients, right? Unfortunately, you didn't get the job. I think we should move past, we should go to the networking. And I know sometimes she didn't mention it, a part of it. She said, I've been like texting people on LinkedIn, things like that. Sometimes it doesn't work. But networking can go so long. And networking, we always think networking is with the big guys. It's with founders, CEOs. But most of the jobs I've landed, it has even been with people like my peers in the same age are like, oh, actually, I'm leaving this job. Are you still interested in getting a job? And 3 months later, after mentioning that I want a job. So one advice I'd have for Gen Zs is go above like just the usual applying. Tell people you're seeking for a job. Tell them what you like. Tell them what you want. Don't be shy. Sometimes I think there's also a stigma in like, I'm looking for a job. You don't want to seem needy. You feel like things like that, right? So go above. Tell people, tell your peers. Don't always think that networking is about the big guys. Network with the people in the room with you. Network with your peers, people in your class. You never know who they are. Yeah. I
like that. Doreen, how do we fix this? Let's talk solutions now. What should Gen Zs change? What do you think you also feel your generation needs to say, hey, you know, guys, to be honest, this one a pan, or what are those?
I think any form of excuses. I understand we're living a hard life, but we gotta go through this, and we are gonna go through it together. And just let go of the excuses. Try your best. At the end of the day, you might not get what you want, but you'll be somewhere.
You've got to be somewhere. How about you?
Yeah, they kind of summed up my ideas, but it's more like this. Like, brand yourself, create your own brand. Like, do not just sit down and expect for things to come to you. Work on your CV, work on your LinkedIn, right? Network, pitch yourself everywhere. Anytime you get an opportunity in a room, go places. Like, we're in the generation where you actually have to put yourself out there because there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of great minds out here. So you actually have to make yourself stand out, right? So the laziness aside, I'm not telling you to hustle like the old generation. So hustle in our own Gen Z kind of way, right? Put yourself out there, like make your voice heard, right? So that you can, you know, attract those opportunities, so that someone will notice you in a room, so that you outshine people, you know, that kind of thing.
Right. And there's something that you did mention, Doreen, mentorship. And I think it's important we also just spend a bit of time talking about this mentorship. How should it look like for it to be impactful? Because, like you said, if there is a conflict of these generations, and probably the millennials are the ones holding these positions, and yet there is a need for succession in whichever way, and in whichever form. How then do you reconcile each other from a thought perspective to understand each other to a point where now, look, I'm here to be mentored, and I think I'm also here to understand you and be able to work and walk with you through the journey of upskilling you in one or another through mentorship?
I think some people have tried to do that. Some organizations really help. And well, you can do many things. I'm not about to give a very practical example, although I can. You can have trainings, a workshop, teach some students how to do the things you do, let them apply, those who are interested, and you can do that. Just one day of your days, and then you can teach us. That's one way, very practical. But otherwise, just be willing to give out your knowledge, because it's very useful for us. I think if a person is willing to give out what they know, they can't lose a way to give out what they know.
I like that. That should be the tweet. How do we work out this mentorship? How would you like it? How would you describe successful, impactful mentorship session program?
So the way I see mentorship is, I believe we should all have, it's a chain to me. We should all have people we're mentoring. No matter where you're at in life, you should be in a position to mentor someone else. And this, to the employers, I don't believe there is someone who is successful and out there who doesn't have someone they're mentoring. If they're there, then that's a big issue, because I should have someone I'm mentoring. My mentee should have someone they're mentoring, because that's how we learn. That's how we pass on knowledge and experience.
Right. What's description of mentorship?
I've actually never been mentored.
Never been mentored?
Okay, depending on the meaning. What meaning do we have? What's mentorship?
What would be your meaning of mentorship?
My mentorship, I feel like it's something, I'm in agreement with my mentor that I want something they have. And I feel like it's like a program for 6 months or like a year. I'm learning from them. Maybe there's like someone who wants to be a journalist like you. You're mentoring them to become that, giving them the skills and all that. I don't think I've ever had that. If
I told you that I want to embrace you as your mentor, would that be something you'd be happy to take?
Right now?
Yeah.
Great. That would be
That's a done deal. We'll talk about that after the show. In the meantime, let me read this feedback. I have Mugabe Grace, a friend of the show, very, very passionate about youth and policy-related issues. She says, we are blessed with young and brilliant talent. This may be a good time for employers to start building in-house models to tap into young talent. Say 1-year fellowship that are win-win. And of course, great new talent supporting company specific needs whilst offering fundamental or foundational experience. This, I think, is a good idea. Within an institution, do some sort of an academy, and from there you create a pool of talent. Is this something that you're doing within the union, the space? How are you creating that linkage to the job market?
Yeah, we try to do that a lot because that's very essential in what I'm studying. So we try to invite people over, and they talk to the students. We try to provide the students with the skills that we think the employers might want from them. From time to time, teaching them how to live in this world where we're living. And I think that's a very good thing.
It's a good thing. Right. And then there's Diana Ofona, who says, very insightful conversation on tackling unemployment, the Gen Z's perspective, smart panelist with refreshingly honest and practical advice to employers. What else do you want to tell employers?
What else do I want to tell employers?
Yes.
There was one thing I had in mind, but I feel like I touched on it. But let me re-emphasize.
Yes.
If I may even look in the camera.
Yes, please.
So the matter of having a one-way communication channel with your employees, especially your younger employees. So this is where even mentorship comes in. If you're saying that you're going to be more than a manager, more than a supervisor, that you're going to be a mentor to your younger employees, you need to create this communication channel where they're free to come and speak to you, right? Of course, we need to establish boundaries, but they need to feel comfortable enough and heard enough to communicate their concerns, to communicate their needs, to communicate their concerns, anything that is not going well that they feel can be made better. They have this open space where they can share that. So that is my message to the employers.
And most of the time, sometimes that is often misunderstood as being rude, being, how do we call it? You are just so entitled.
Yes, entitled and taking things for granted.
You see, I'm on your side.
I remember an experience. I went to search for a job, and I was saying, you're giving me, this is too far away. Can't you just move me closer to my home? And then this guy was like, if you don't take the job, leave it. There's so many people in the world that want this job and you're taking this for granted. I'm like, I'm not taking it for granted. I'm just saying, if you can maybe, there is a worker who lives near where you want me to work, and I live near where they want to work. We could just exchange, but since honestly, we do the same thing.
The job place cannot come to you. You are the one who can come closer to the job place.
Oh no, it's like, okay, let's say you have a branch of RBA here in Katsiru, and then there's another one that is maybe Chichuchiro. So like, you're working here, but you're staying in Chichuchiro, and I'm working in Chichuchiro, but I stay here. And so like, maybe I can work there, I can be placed there, and you're placed near your work.
But maybe the need is, where you're needed most is Katsiru.
We do the same thing.
It was the same thing, honestly.
Okay, I can't fight that, I can't beat that. Farmers Journal on X says, early generations need to be flexible. Nobody wants a BlackBerry that was the same one from 1989.
The proverb.
89, I was 3 years old. All in all, change requires a growth mindset. You agree, Joel?
Repeat it, sorry.
Let me say this again. Early generations need to be flexible. Nobody wants a BlackBerry that was the same one from 1989. All in all, change requires a growth mindset.
Real. BlackBerries don't even work now, do they? Have you guys
I feel they were cancelled, like discontinued, something like that.
We're using iPhones.
One more here. It says, indeed, the generational gap is there, and mostly because the earlier generations don't think they have a blind spot, and yet it is indeed there. You agree? Like, Like the things they can't see.
Yeah, we all have blind spots.
Do?
So we need to be open to like letting because we all have our strengths and weaknesses. And I have observed there are patterns in each generation. Each generation has its strengths and its weaknesses. Yeah. So corporations are out here talking about hiring diversely, a diverse workforce, but do they they want different inputs, maybe different genders, male and female inputs, but do they consider generational inputs when they're talking about that? Because when it comes to actually my generation bringing input, they're like what you said, I'm being entitled, yet we're talking about inclusion.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I'm sure it must be very difficult being in a work setup where you are a young person and when you say something, they're like, but do you know how old you are? I'm this and I'm that. I say this because it's something that I've seen as well, but we need to actually find a way of fixing it. But as we talk about this, I want also to understand how best then, especially when we talk about the youth population that is growing, and by 2030 the numbers will be in huge numbers, including even today as we speak. Let's leave alone 2030. How do policymakers, those making decisions, ensure that they do not lose the opportunity that is the young workforce? What do you want to see happen? You know, as far as making the youth more useful, not just at the workplace, but at a national level. Doreen?
I think giving them a chance.
Giving them a chance.
To showcase what they're capable of.
Yeah.
Because I know very many people, my peers, who are very talented and very capable and could actually do like, be open to receive new talent, and then you'll get what you're looking for.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say reduce the retirement age.
That would be amazing.
That would be amazing too, you know.
That would be amazing? Amazing. Talk to me about how amazing that would be like. Why would it be amazing?
Oh yeah, just the part of it of retiring early, but no.
To create more space for younger people to come in and take up the jobs. What else do you want to see from a policy perspective?
I think,
if, let's say, it's a wish list you're making to Minister of Youth, Minister of State, and the Ministry of Youth, what would you want to take down on their notebook?
I think something I'd say generally, she did talk about diversity, and she talked about it in a beautiful way. She said we should diversify in terms of generations as well. What kind of people do you have in the workplace? But also to recruiters, once you're hiring, we should have like different ways of hiring. We understand that we talk from a place of privilege, we can articulate ourselves, we're here, but we sometimes understand that some people have never been given a chance, like she said, because they articulated themselves in interviews and you thought they were not good at the job, but maybe they were good because it was a technical job. Can there be ways to hire people technically without you just making them go through an interview and you feel like they can express themselves, so they can do it? Can there be more ways of like hiring to, like just above the usual ones we have now to get to actually see talent than the usual interviews that we have lately?
How I hire or how I give opportunities or I scout for talent is exactly that. People come thinking they'll sit on an interview, but I say, you say you know how to operate a camera. All right, I call the camera person, please go with them to the field and come back, show me what you can do. I think with that, what has happened is you've had people who have been able to show what they can do as opposed to try to struggle to express what they can do. To prove a point. And it has worked in many cases. But some people say, you know, you're throwing them at the deep end, you're maybe making them feel under so much pressure to actually deliver. How best or how difficult would that be? That suggestion by Joel that please give people a chance to technically prove what they can do as opposed to making them express what they can do.
I agree with him, especially about the experience thing, because, well, I haven't gotten the chance to have the experience because so many people think like the way they do. So I agree with him. If there are ways we could actually do things and prove ourselves and how we're capable, not just necessarily me going through interviews and all of that. If you've seen me, as he's a content creator, we see what he does, then please, you know that he can do some things. So if you ever need someone, why not him?
Right. You agree as well?
Oh yeah, but we were talking about how we can be of more help to the Gen Z.
Yes.
And I think, like you mentioned earlier, there are these careers that our parents have in their minds, and they're like, you're either a doctor or you're a lawyer or you're a teacher. Like the rest, I don't understand. Because sometimes I explain the course you're taking and you can't even explain to them what you're doing because at the end of the day, they want to hear a professional course, right? So I feel like the government, our families can help in embracing these new careers. He's a content creator. And in this age and time, that's a very, very big thing that can get you places, right? Someone is into fashion, you know, someone is into art, that kind of thing. So supporting those art-based professions and like pushing us forward instead of trying to show us like we have a specific path to follow.
Right. I want to, because I think today you came guns blazing as a spokesperson of the panelists today. You've spoken to the employers. I want you to, again, talk to the parents. What do you want to tell them tonight?
Okay, so to the parents, first of all, I'm very appreciative of my parents because they're very supportive. But to those who haven't been very supportive towards their parents, you need to actually hear out your child's passion and allow them to do trial and error, right? So they don't need to ace it the first time they try it. If they go for a course and it's not working out, give them the space to actually figure themselves out. Like, just be their support system and don't try to micromanage their whole life.
Yeah, she's doing a good job as a spokesperson.
Yeah, she is. I would like to add one thing.
I don't get into trouble with some parents.
You want to add something? Go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to also tell the parents that it's okay to learn, even if you're old. If the way you've been parenting is not working with your child, it's okay to read some books. It's okay to talk to therapists. It's okay to search for knowledge in order to better communicate with your child.
Right. And when you talk about the aspect of career choices, I think education becomes key. Even the system of education, grading. I think over time, we have been in a situation, I think I've gone to Parents' Day and we've been told in meetings that please, as parents, don't forget to pass by the notice board. We've stuck there, the grades and the performance. And your child is there, just I want you to go there because they are down there in terms of the grades that they got. What do you want as Gen Zs, especially when it comes to how the grading system is done, the knowing of smart children and those who are not smart in that particular sense? Joel, how does this make it easy or difficult for Gen Zs to find their path towards their career, looking at the current system of education and grading and what is qualified as good performance and bad performance?
I think the current system doesn't favor
favor Gen Zs.
It doesn't favor the current education system. I think most of the syllabuses are not updated to the current trends. I think I somehow like that the way we grew up like learning. I somehow like that we have a general understanding of everything. But some things I'm like, I don't remember half the things I learned in physics. You know, and maybe if I tapped into my passion at that very young age, I'd be very far right now.
Right.
But also, I'm stuck between that. I'm stuck between, I love that we Africans, our syllabuses, we get to have a general knowledge of everything, but also maybe if we started on our passions, on things that we liked, we would be far by now.
Right.
But also I'm also stuck on the fact that we evolve as humans and the passions I had 3 years ago. Clearly, to be honest, I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a doctor. I know our passions change every day, so I'm still stuck between that, but I also know the syllabuses and the education system needs to be changed.
Right.
Definitely doesn't favor.
I think there would be a solution.
Go ahead, yes.
I think there would be a solution of when the schools and the education system at large would focus on the extracurriculars more than they do right now. If they can dance, if they can play basketball, it's okay for classes to end at 3 p.m. and the rest of the 2 hours are just for kids to engage in what they like most, so that they can have the general knowledge as well as what do their passion, which are going to change over time.
Right. I know of a nephew of someone who was asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he said, I want to be a car wash. He wants to wash cars. And this is a parent. How does a parent react to that? But on one side, you'll be like, okay, there's technology coming up. He could own a car wash that is actually AI powered and all that. And these are the things that you guys are saying, that our parents need to start looking at things differently and tapping onto the talents and the passions of their children. I want to give the two of you a chance to pitch. If there's someone watching you tonight and they have an opportunity, they have a slot that you could be able to fill in. Sorry, Joel, you already said you have something, you're earning a check. Okay. I want the two of you to leave this show with a check at the end of the month. Pitch, look at the camera.
Thank you very much. My name is Keza Dorin-Jesli. I am a law student at the University of Rwanda. I'm currently doing law. I'm starting my level 3 in September. And I'm very passionate about human rights, and I'm stuck between human rights and commercial and corporate law. I've been doing some online courses about AI and also commercial law and human rights, as I just said, and I'm completing them in 2 weeks. So basically, by 2 weeks, I'll have 2 certificates from Illinois University and another one from Utrecht University. So thank you very much. If you would hire me, I would be a very I would add a lot to the company. I'm very innovative and quick to learn. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Interesting. Doreen.
Okay. All right. So my name is Shakira Kamikaze. I'm currently in my final year of university, pursuing entrepreneurial leadership. So I am passionate about advocacy and social welfare, social change. I'm an introvert, but I'm very outspoken. I don't know how that mixes together, but I have worked in communications, I have worked in customer service, and yeah, any role that you see, I would be a perfect fit in. Oh yeah, and I'm a great team player. Thank you.
Wonderful. Joel, you can plug something if you want as well.
Brands that need advertising. Yeah. Brands, reach out. My Instagram, joel.tuyi. Yeah. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Tuyikunde Joel. If you're looking to collab, I might be just your guy. So check out my content, see if it aligns with my brand, reach out. You never know. Thank you.
Right. Perfect. Thank you so much. I want to say thank you. You've been amazing. I think we've had a very good conversation. The conversation ends on these 4 walls, but it continues across our social media platforms, and we want to wish you all the best, and I'm happy to support you in any other way that we can. But also for you who's been watching, please, let's marinate what we've just heard from these amazing young people, and they represent many, many others out there who also require just an opportunity to showcase what I can be able to do. And of course, you never know. Give them a chance, and you can actually count on them for that. As always, my name is Eugene Adagwe, signing off. Let's go, guys. We've done what we came to do, and we managed it. Yeah, I told you.